Hi, my name's Phil. I'd like to come out politics, and Amnesty International have published their investigation into the way Elon Musk's Twitter allowed disinformation to spread rapidly last year following the Southport murders, culminating in weeks of race-related rioting. In this video, I'd like to begin looking at some of the evidence Amnesty International found, but then look at the way this platform, owned by a clearly politically biased oligarch, is being used to deliberately and maliciously weaken liberal democracies. But first, for daily news and politics, please click the subscribe button to stay notified. So, Amnesty International have produced a report on their analysis of the way Twitter, or X as some heretics refer to it these days, not only permitted the spread of disinformation, but actively promoted it, amplified it. Put a link in the description below, but just to pick out a few points. So their analysis of the open source code showed evidence, they say, that the algorithms actively ranked the sort of content which spreads misinformation and hate. Now, my view on this is there are a couple of factors here. The first is just an unfortunate nature of the way media platforms of any kind work, and they do explain this in their analysis. So what sort of political content gets the most reach? The content which triggers very strong emotions. The stronger, the more extreme reaction to content, the better it is likely to do. And all media platforms need the clicks in order to win the race to top dog in this cutthroat media world we have now. But the second factor is that the owner of the platform, Elon Musk, is not just partisan, but devotes clearly a lot of his time to political activism. Now, who amongst us, if we owned a successful social media platform and was a deeply political beast, would not seek to use it to promote our own political agenda? So whether due to one or both of these factors, Twitter was able to rapidly spread false statements about the nature of the Southport murders last year. The nature of Twitter in particular makes it better than most platforms for doing this because it's very quick and easy to post brief content. And that is why it is the platform of choice for many people active in the news and political spaces. I mean, you take YouTube, it's my preferred platform. It takes time to do a YouTube video. Even if you do it on the fly, it still takes time. But it takes no time at all to tweet something. But the damage Twitter is doing is not isolated to just one event on one wet, sheep-infested island off the northern coast of Europe either. And the damage is also not incidental, it's deliberate. As I said, strong emotions are generally best for driving content across all forms of media, not just social media. And when I say emotions, they tend to be negative emotions. But social media has way fewer guardrails than other forms of media. So it's where you see this most prominently. It works by getting you to feel confusion, anger, not knowing what to believe. That is the fuel. The device in your hand, the apps you scroll through, they have become the engine. We're in an era where disinformation moves at the speed of a thumb flick. Platforms like Twitter have become ground zero for the viral spread of lies that directly impact the real world, including our elections. The core of the problem is speed. A lie can circle the globe before the truth even puts its shoes on, as they say. And it is not just Amnesty International pointing this out, they're just the latest. A study from MIT had already found that on Twitter, false news stories are 70% more likely to be retweeted than true ones. Why is that? Truth tends to be quite bland and boring. Whereas if you're going to make something up, you can make it as spicy as you like. When you're not constrained, when you're not shackled by the truth, you can make it really exciting, really extreme. You know, so for example, on my channel, when does my channel do really well? When there is something spicy in the news, when there's something going on that's really genuinely interesting. Whereas for some other channels, it's like, well, I'm not going to wait around for something genuinely interesting to happen. I'll just make something up. And the same study shows that the lies reached 1,500 people about 6 times faster than the truth. Because by the time fact checkers have to be reactive by definition. You know, you can't fact check a lie until someone's told the lie. By the time you can analyse a claim and publish a correction, damage is done. Minds are made up. Outrage is triggered. The story is set in stone. People have committed themselves to believing the lie. And as we know, people can get angry at someone calling out the fact that they've been conned They're angry at them. They won't be angry at the person who conned them. They're angry at the person who pointed it out. And this isn't just random noise, it's a system. The algorithms that decide what you see are built for one purpose, just to keep you scrolling, to keep you on the platform. And that's the case for any media platform. And nothing keeps us glued to the screen quite like emotion. Anger, fear, the feeling of belonging, sense of being in on a secret. That's the currency of platforms like this. Social media, in particular something like Twitter, is the playground of the Sith. There may be a few of us trying to be Jedis, but it's an environment for very powerful and very negative emotional responses, which creates echo chambers. The platform learns what you believe and naturally shows you more of it, because people are turned off by things they don't believe, so they don't want you to leave the platform, so they feed your bias. It connects you with people who believe the same things, builds digital communities that grow more and more isolated from opposing views. And this was on full display during the 2020 and then the 2024 US elections. You know, studies revealed that during the 2020 election, which has now been well analysed, pro-Trump and pro-Biden groups became more radicalised. They sealed themselves off from each other in their own little information echo chambers. And this environment is the perfect petri dish for growing and spreading disinformation. It's a system that doesn't just show us our divisions, it makes them worse. And this is how the system just naturally behaves. But then the system got a new architect. When Elon Musk took over Twitter and turned it into X, he championed a philosophy of free speech absolutism. The result was a fairly immediate, definitely seismic shift. A huge portion of the staff, including people who worked on the trust and safety teams, who handled content moderation, gone. The guardrails, which were already struggling, were torn down. Accounts that were previously banned for spreading hate speech, dangerous conspiracies and inciting violence, back they came, including, of course, Tommy Robinson. The message was clear, the old rules were gone. This has made the platform an incredibly friendly place for extremists, misogynists, professional liars. Musk isn't a passive owner. He's not someone who happens to run a platform and just the nature of the platform means that these sorts of content just are going to get more clicks. He's one of the most powerful influencers on his own platform. He has like hundreds of millions of followers. He's used that power to endorse political candidates, from Donald Trump in the US to far-right parties in Germany and other countries. He's personally pushed claims about elections that fact-checkers have rated as false, and those posts have gathered billions of views. He was even personally pushing the disinformation in Britain last summer. And this has led to serious accusations that he is deliberately meddling in the democratic process of other nations. You know, you can point to, Twitter will point to its community notes feature. It's like a crowdsourced fact check as the solution. But a lot of researchers say, well, this doesn't really work. It's open to abuse. You know, the Centre for Countering Digital Hate said the vast majority of misleading posts about the US election never got a corrective note that all users could see, which allowed it to rack up over 2 billion views completely unchecked. Even the platform's own AI, Munchkin Grok, has been caught spreading false information. This isn't a bug, it's a feature of this new platform. It's a full retreat from protecting election integrity. So how does a single tweet or a short video become a threat to democracy? What's the process? So it happens when these digital lies are weaponized. So not a natural process of the way social media works, but coordinated networks here and abroad. They exploit these systems to intentionally disrupt elections in particular. And we know that they're particularly active, bots and so on, are very, very active round election time. In Europe, researchers found that disinformation networks completely flooded Twitter with posts to influence EU elections. In the US, there were fake videos claiming to show election fraud, and that got amplified, all to cast doubt on the entire process. And these tactics have a few clear goals. First of all, they erode trust, right? As soon as you don't trust a particular source of information, you still want to know what's going on. So you look around for another source. By constantly attacking voting systems, election officials and the media, they convince people that the democratic process is a sham. That makes it harder for anyone to trust legitimate results. Second, they create what's called a false consensus to manipulate public opinion. Yet they use bots, coordinated accounts to amplify a fringe idea. It's particularly effective on the far right because they also have the mainstream media on their side who will further amplify it to other outlets. They can make it look like a majority opinion. This can bully people with different views into staying silent and can then sway undecided voters who just... People are sheeple. A lot of people, do you know what? It's not conscious, it's subconscious, but a lot of people naturally align with where they think society is. And finally, they prey on our deepest divisions. Disinformation campaigns are masters at pouring petrol on racial, partisan and social fires to polarise us even further. An angry, divided public is a distracted public. And that makes reasoned debate, the kind of that democracy depends on, virtually impossible. You know, and this isn't about one candidate or one party. It's about the integrity of the system itself. The platform's lack of moderation, combined with its owner's direct political motives, creates a perfect storm for election interference. But the most insidious part of the whole machine is it's designed to make you feel smart. See, the best disinformation doesn't just tell you a lie. It wraps it in a sort of secret knowledge so that you can say, oh, I know this thing. Oh, you don't know it. That's why you have that different opinion. It follows a simple but very deadly formula. Problem, agitation, solution. First, it presents a problem, something real or a common belief. Then comes the agitation. This is where they whisper the hidden truth. They use leading questions, phrases, and we know it from Nigel Farage. Oh, I'm just asking questions. Yeah, like hell you were. You know, what aren't they telling you? Or, ooh, the shocking truth is, they create a clear enemy, a them. Whether the them is the media, big tech, the establishment, it creates an us versus them fight and it pulls you into their tribe. Then they offer the solution. By buying their story, you're no longer one of the clueless masses. You're awake to it, right? Oh, but you're not woke. You're in the know. They've turned your own confirmation bias into a weapon, making you feel smart for seeing through the lies while they feed you their own. They'll even copy the look of real journalism. They'll use charts and so-called experts, all from think tanks that are funded by the people pushing these lies. They've weaponized the idea of fact-checking to serve their own agenda. The real secret isn't what they're telling you. It's the manipulative game they're playing. They've built a machine that runs on your emotions and rewards you with a feeling of superiority for feeding it. And the more you feed it, the stronger it gets, and the weaker our shared reality becomes. And we're at a critical point here, when so much power on a platform like Twitter is centralized in the hands of one person with an obvious political agenda. It's a profound risk to democracies everywhere. The platform has become a megaphone for whatever story its owner and his allies want to push. It supercharges conspiracy theories. It drowns out sane discussion. And government efforts to legislate against the abuses of social media, which we're quite keen on in Europe, are now having to tiptoe around the need to keep Donald Trump on side in order to prevent the world being flushed further down the crapper. But let me know what you think in the comments below. For more content, you could subscribe to the channel or even join for access to streams and behind the scenes updates. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I'll see you later.